What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Yes, it is that time of the week. It is the Turbo and 2K show. And you might be looking at yourself going, Turbo, you had three people on last week. Now you have not, and I have one. Well, I do have a surprise for you, ladies and gentlemen, so don't you worry about that. But today we're going to jump into and kind of put a bow on the World Series. A lot of happy Dodger fans out there, and we're going to jump into that, give you the breakdown. And obviously, we're the pretty much elephant in the room is the move to take Blake Snell out. So that's one of the main things we're going to talk about today on the Turbo and 2K show. And I am your host, Ryan Turbo Jackson, and I have a call-in guest. Not really a guest, he's the co-host, Mr. Kyle 2K's Kaler. What the fuck up? What the fuck is up, my friend?
What up, man? How's it going?
Doing well. Doing well. How was the family camping trip?
It was good. It was good. It was nice to get away again. Obviously, the last vacation I had was just me and not the family. So to get away with the family this weekend, it was a great weekend.
Yeah, I know. With everything the way it is, the kind of current circumstances taking you down from 9 vacations a year now down to 2. So,
Yeah, it's been a rough year. It's really been a rough year.
I'd say I feel your pain, but I really don't. I really don't. But yeah, let's jump into this 2Ks. Let's just rip the band-aid off normally like we do, and the biggest question in the room is, did Kevin Cash pull Blake Snell too early? What are your thoughts?
I mean, absolutely. Looking at it, I mean, just from the outcome of the game, absolutely. He was throwing, and but at the same time, the only argument that I have for Cash is, this is what got the Rays there. They're being able to go to their bullpen, and it worked out for them in every single series all the way up until this point. So it's easy to play the blame game, but Cash is just doing what worked for him all the way through the postseason. And unfortunately, in the most important game and the biggest stage when everybody's watching, it blew up in his face. And I mean, so yeah, when you look at it now and look at the end result, Snell was awesome. He was arguably the best pitcher in the entire postseason. He is your ace. He's the best pitcher on your team. And when you take the ball out of his hand in the biggest game of the season, and bring in and allow other players to to be involved in the outcome of it. Yeah, you're just over managing, and it's easy to do. It's easy, especially when you're facing the lineup that they're facing with this Dodgers team, and you kind of second guess yourself because obviously when you're playing against teams with Mookie Betts and with the way that Seager was swinging the bat and Turner and those guys. The last thing you want to do is allow those guys to see your starting pitcher, multiple times. So, it's hard to go into, if Mookie Betts gets 3-4 at bats on you, you got to think, and you've got him the first 2 times, you got to think the third time he's probably going to get you. And, and the same thing can be said for, a lot of these other Dodgers hitters. So I see, how it's easy to make that mistake, but unfortunately, on the biggest stage, you're obviously going to pay the consequences when you make a decision like that to pull, Blake Snell, who was basically carving up the best team in baseball, and you made that decision to pull him. So you're gonna have to just deal with the consequences now.
Do you think too that the kind of accelerated schedule for the playoffs? Do you think that had anything to do with bringing in the relievers as much as they did? Because to kind of take your perspective another way is that you're saying that yes, I mean Blake Snell facing the same lineup for a third time that night, yes, that you do run the risk of obviously getting, especially with his track record the couple previous games, for sure, but one could kind of counter that argument with the Dodgers have seen those Rays relievers multiple times as well. Maybe not the same day, but
Yeah.
throughout the series, of course, they kept running the same guys out there. But do you think maybe like I said, the fewer travel days or the fewer days between games, do you think that might have had anything to do with it?
I really can't. I can't see that really playing a factor because Snell had already went 5 innings, so to that point, you're kind of he's done. You're not going to have him for Game 7. I mean, so because he's not going to bounce back. After throwing that amount of pitches,
Right.
he's not going to bounce back. And when it comes to the playoffs, let alone World Series, you got to pitch with we got to win this game now, and worry about tomorrow. If we get to tomorrow.
Right.
And so I really can't see them using that excuse. To me, the decision that I would have made personally, and like I said earlier, it's easy to make this decision when you're not in that dugout and you're not. But I would have been using Snell up with the mindset that this is the last. This is the last game that he's going to pitch all season long. Now he's going to have the entire off season to heal up and come back. So I would have just used him for everything that he had.
Yeah.
And if you lose to the Dodgers, I think it's easier to explain that loss if they beat your best. And in this case, the Dodgers didn't beat their best. The Rays brought in the bullpen and they brought guys in that are not as good of pitchers as Blake Snell.
Yeah, and and there's so many people that are talking about the analytics drove this, and there's all of these managers are not really managing with they're managing more with the numbers than they are with their actual intuition and baseball knowledge and shit like that. And I'm kind of leaning towards that, especially with a decision like this. I'm with you. I would have much rather had Blake Snell give up 2 runs than the bullpen. The bullpen, for the most part, had been ultimately lights out. I'm not going to say lights out, but very, very stingy. And I think when it comes down to it, what really, really killed the Rays was fucking strikeouts. It seemed like they had 10 strikeouts every game. And you can't win series. You can win a game having 10 strikeouts, but you can't win multiple games in a row with that many strikeouts in a game. And I'm sorry, Arozarena came out of nowhere. It's a great story. I actually found a few of his rookie cards, so I'm really stoked about that. But one guy cannot drive this whole series, and
Absolutely.
they were putting too much on his plate. Granted, they'd get knocks, and then they would leave guys on first and second, and then not even move them, or a guy would get a leadoff double, and he'd die there. They couldn't string anything together, and maybe we're kind of overlooking how good the Dodgers pitching staff really was, because you were looking at two of the top, if not the top 2 offenses in baseball, and for all of these games to be as close as they were and as nail biting as they were, I think what really was the thorn in the side of the Rays was their strikeouts, and you could say the same thing for the Dodgers. I don't know if they would kind of cancel each other out or whatever, but there was just and maybe it's just me that noticed this, or maybe it's been going on, and I'm one of the last people to jump on this, but it seemed like there was at least 15 strikeouts in every single game. And yes, I know good pitching usually dominates or usually beats good hitting, but fuck, man, it didn't seem like there was hardly any fly balls or ground outs. I mean, it would seem like everybody was striking out, or was that just me?
And a lot of that credit. No, a lot of that credit goes to the pitching and from both sides. And this is what we talked about the Tampa bullpen being lights out, all the way up until Game 6. But the Dodgers bullpen is the same way. And basically, looking at the Game 6, the box score and how many different pitchers, the Dodgers threw out there. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see so many strikeouts is because they have such a good bullpen. And when you as a bullpen pitcher, when they ask you to go out there and maybe give you 2 innings tops,
Yeah.
you can just you can just leave it all out there. And unlike some of these guys like like a Blake Snell, when you're asking him to be the starting pitcher, you can't just go out there and start throwing triple digits and breaking off every single breaking ball that you have and expect to be able to make it very much longer than a few innings. So in the Dodgers case, when they have a pitcher that all they're asking you to do is go 2 innings, or for a lot of them go 1 inning, yeah, you can just give it everything you got there, and I think that's why it leads to more strikeouts.
Yeah, and I if I remember correctly, I think that Dave Roberts did happen to leave Kenley Jansen in his back pocket. I'm pretty sure that was on purpose, just because of his lack of efficiency or lack of effectiveness throughout the postseason. And we have been kind of bagging on the Rays a little bit, but for those of you that are watching live, go ahead and throw your 2 cents into the chat. We'd love to chat with you. Tell us where you're from, and if you agree or disagree with us, and just let us know, and we can get a little conversation going with you guys, because we'd love to talk to you guys. But no, I think
one of the things that was so impressive to me was when you think of the Dodgers, you think of obviously Mookie Betts and Cody Bellinger and Justin Turner and all these guys, in their lineup. But what won this World Series for them was all these young up and coming pitchers that were coming out of the bullpen. Obviously, Clayton Kershaw kind of shut a lot of the haters up as far as him not being able to throw in the postseason. He was great this entire postseason. So he shut a lot of his haters up. But then you start thinking about all these other young kids that kind of just came out of nowhere this year, or maybe didn't necessarily come out of nowhere for Dodgers fans, but for us as just baseball fans that don't necessarily follow the Dodgers farm system. I mean, they were throwing 3 or 4 kids that were in there. If they weren't rookies, they were in there, in their second season, and this Dodgers team isn't going away anytime soon.
No, we did have one of the huge Dodger fans pipe up. Mr. Kyler, Slime Wrangler himself, says Jansen's been a bum long before this postseason. I would
absolutely.
I would agree with that. But,
absolutely.
But Kyler, I will say this though, just kind of piggybacking off what Kyle just said about the farm system. We didn't even Gavin Lux never even saw the field. That's how deep their shit is that they're one of their number one prospects didn't even see the field this year. So yes, this Dodger team is not going away. It's only getting younger. I think maybe the only problem that they would really need to fix in the postseason here is, obviously cut ties with Jansen. He's really doing you no good. And
he's holding back other kids.
Oh, absolutely. And then, maybe. I mean, there really aren't any holes in this lineup. There really isn't from top to bottom. Like I said, you're gonna see Gavin Lux come up and probably solidify that second base spot over Kike. But Kike is a very, very serviceable player. He could play probably anywhere else on the field. So. That's not really losing anything, and you're adding a bat that, especially another left-handed bat to that lineup, and the only question mark, like the big question mark, is can they keep Seager? Are they going to let Seager walk, test free agency, and ultimately bring him back? I don't know. So that's between Jansen and Seager. I think those are your only two. Justin Turner might be on a walk year, so I don't know about that either. What did Kyler say here? He says, cutters at 90 to 93 just aren't cutting it anymore. Yeah. He's and the thing that really has irritated me about Jansen his whole career is, instead of just focusing on throwing fucking strikes, he always tries to do these weird deliveries and windups and shit. Just throw the fucking ball. Just throw the ball.
Yeah.
Him and Johnny Cueto are the same fucking thing. I hate both of them just because
Oh
of
yeah.
that. I don't need these little,
Yeah.
tiki tutan shakes and all this other shit. Just throw the fucking ball, please. Just throw the ball. Throw the ball.
I
But
agree.
in then kind of flip flop to the Rays. I was kind of shocked that they're letting Charlie Hubbard walk. They're
Hmm.
not extending him. He had a great postseason. Before Game 6 was probably their best starter that they had all year throughout the postseason. So I didn't see what the price tag was on that, but for what he just did for them, and they're just like, we're not extending you. That
Hmm.
kind of shocked me. I know he's not super young. He's a little long in the tooth, but still, for what he did in the postseason, I think you'd give him at least one more year.
Yeah, but that's what we see every single off
Mm-hmm.
season with Tampa Bay. They kind of just they're not willing to really. That's a small market small market team right there. They just don't. They don't want to get in those long term deals that can potentially backfire on them. So they stay away from them, and they just keep on building from their farm system. And obviously,
Keeps pumping out
I mean, just
pitchers
kind of going by what,
religiously.
yes, exactly. From what we've seen from Tampa over the years, is they just keep on bringing kids out of the farm system. So obviously, they know something that we don't know, and they have, they have kids that are down there that are probably, ready. And I think come next season, Tampa Bay is going to be another team they're going to be right there in the running again.
Well, I just hope that we're not looking at them kind of grooming a Rosarena to be a Yankee or something stupid like that. But
Yeah,
is as much heat as Kevin Cash got for that one pulling of Blake Snell. I still think he's one of the best managers in baseball. And
absolutely.
well, while we're talking about managers, the shocking managerial hire so far, Tony Larussa to the White
Yeah,
Sox.
yeah,
This is nothing taking away from what Tony La Russa has done in his career. He's a Hall of Fame manager. Why that team and why come back? That's the part I don't understand. I mean,
yeah.
it's
When I saw Renteria get fired for the White Sox, I really thought because we talked about it. This goes all the way back to the beginning of the season. AJ Hinch with the potential to end up with the Tigers,
and he is
as
now.
a manager for the Tigers.
Yeah.
After he comes back, and I mean, he's the name that I wanted. I mean, I think he was the best name out there. Obviously, there's some of the decisions that he made in the Houston tenure, and the way that he kind of just covered things up. I don't like that. But I'm also one that's if everybody's going to make mistakes, and I'm one to give second chances, and the way that all these players for Houston were able to play and obviously have nothing happen to them at all other than maybe take a pitch or two in the ass this season. Hinch deserved his chance. He definitely deserved his chance to come back. So,
Sure.
But getting back to the White Sox, when I saw them fire Renteria, I really thought that they were making their move to go for Hinch.
Oh yeah.
Kind of there because obviously they're in win now. Right now, we've talked enough about all the young talent that they have there. But man, Tony La Russa just does not. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
What I kind of heard via Twitter is that the White Sox were all in on Hinch. Obviously, they didn't get him. And then they're all in on Cora, and everything points back to Cora going back to the Red Sox. Whether that obviously hasn't been confirmed or denied, but it seems like everything just kind of leads back to that. And this was kind of like the consolation prize. And with the influx of pretty much everyone getting these young managers, like I said, he's going to go down as a Hall of Fame manager for one. Now, what will be before we kind of jump into that? Kyler said that Woods, Turner, Hernandez, Peterson, and Seager are all free agents next year. So, but he also said that the Sox Sox will be the best team in Chicago next year. Well, they were borderline the best team in Chicago this year, so that's kind of hard to argue. But you're 100% right. Now, what's going to be interesting with the White Sox is that it seems to me that when Larussa was having his great success in St. Louis, what the fuck? I was trying to pause because I totally forgot his name. Shit, the pitching coach there, Mike, help me out. Fuck. Either way, let's see if he can bring that. Mike Maddox. There we go.
Mike Maddox. There you go.
Let's see if he is that something. Is that a piece he's going to try to get away from St. Louis to kind of bring that back? Because that's what, and the reason I'm kind of bringing this up is because that's what that White Sox team is lacking right now is the strength of pitching, whether it's starting pitching, relief pitching, the whole 9 yards. That's kind of the chink in their armor. So you bring that pitching coach over that you worked with for years and years and years in St. Louis. That could be really, really scary. That could be really, really scary. But yeah, you and I had talked about this at length, and I think Detroit got their guy. I think Hench is a great hire. There were some folks on Facebook that were like, "Oh my God, we don't want the cheater. We don't want this. We don't want that." And I'm like, well, you know what? The guy made a bad choice, put himself in a bad situation, got caught, and has spent his time. He's done his time. Was it anything super, super illegal, like go to jail thing? No, this isn't that type of thing. But he's been in baseball jail for a year, and so is Alex Cora, and both of them are going to be managing in 2021. I guarantee it.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you kind of look at the comparisons between the Astros to the Tigers, the way the lineup is structured is very similar. I mean, they're super young, and if the Tigers could land one of these hot shortstop prospect or shortstop free agents, if they open the book and pay them, especially if they're a middle of the lineup hitter, man, that's just going to make everything so much easier for that whole entire organization from top to bottom. Because you and I both love Nico Goodrum, hands down. Love the kid, but if you could scratch in a Frankie Lindor or a Corey Seager there every day, I'm sorry, Nico. As much as I love you,
absolutely.
as much as I love you, there's a guy a little bit better going to take your spot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Nico Goodrum, he's not he's not an everyday player. He's not an everyday major league player. He's more of a utility guy,
service
that
guy.
Plays. Yes, maybe he gets to start 2 or 3 times a week, and each time might be at a different position. And that's what makes him valuable to the team is that he can play. He's above average defender at probably six or 7 different positions on the field. So that's what makes him valuable. But trying to pencil him in every single day, that's not the recipe to a very good team.
Sure. I mean, if you were penciling him into a AAA lineup, then that's a different story. Every day at shortstop. But I mean, he's a kind of a Brandon Inge type guy. If you're digging back in Detroit, I mean, he's very likable. I would say he's a better hitter than he was, but yeah, he just putting him in there every day. I mean, I could see moving him around if need be, but yeah, definitely if you sign even like a Trevor Story. If I was a Tiger fan, I'd be stoked for a Trevor Story signing. Would I pay Trevor Story as much as Lindor? No. But yeah, I mean, there's big things happening in Detroit as well as over there in Chicago. So that for a division that's kind of been been marked with kind of an X there for a while, where there's been like one team where, I guess we could say the Twins a little bit, and the Indians have kind of owned that division for quite a long time. And for now, all the Dodger fans are like, oh, thank God we won a World Series. It's been since 1988. Well, I guarantee if you talk to a Cleveland fan, they'll tell you to suck their dick, because they've been waiting since like the 50s or some shit. And even going before that, I mean, like, see this W right here? Ask a Cubs fan how long it was, or even me, a Red Sox fan. So since 88, I'm pretty sure you guys can calm the fuck down. But to kind of put a bow on the World Series, congratulations, the Los Angeles Dodgers. You guys did it. Finally got that monkey off your back. Clayton Kershaw, I think now your career has to be a little bit more, or your career going on from here on out. You just got to take a big deep breath now, because that postseason monkey's off your back. It's not like the Dodgers won in spite of you sucking. You actually pitched well. So, yes, kudos to you. You're that one big, now it's going to be how many can they win? Mm-hmm. And they're obviously going into 2021 as the favorite right now, which they should be. With that lineup and with everything coming back, and they're one of the teams that are telling Major League Baseball, fuck you in your quote unquote salary cap or of the luxury tax. We'll pay it. Magic Johnson's cutting checks like it's no one's business. So it would not shock me if Seager does stay put there, and we'll see. Mm-hmm. Just gonna, but the one thing that I will say is it's not like the NL is getting any weaker, and it's going to be interesting this postseason, because like you and I have said, 2Ks, I'm pretty sure we've seen the last of the pitchers hitting. So mm-hmm. How are the National League teams going to structure their lineup a little bit differently now that they know going forward that they need a DH, and whether, because there was a lot of teams that they just weren't structured for it, or I'm not gonna say not structured for it, but there were some teams that were, I'm not saying planning ahead, just their lineup played better with it, let's just say.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's not going to be that, the older dude like a Cabrera, let's say, that has to stay in the American League now. He can go where. I'm not saying he's leaving Detroit by any means, but if he does, he's not limited to where he can go now. So it's going to be interesting to see how each one of these GMs for the National League kind of set their lineups now going forward, especially this first year, because they've never really had to do it. So yeah, the NL is, it's definitely not getting weaker. So it's not like the I'm not putting the Dodgers that much further ahead than a lot of teams, but I'm still putting them as the number one team going into next year. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a team that to look out for that's obviously we got to see them quite a bit this year is the Braves. The Braves are young, a lot of young upcoming talent. Unfortunately, injuries kind of played a factor on things going there, especially with some of those young pitchers that they have.
Yeah.
So I think that's a team to look out for. I also think the Padres.
I was just going to say the Padres.
A lot of excitement there this year with the hitting, but the pitching's coming. It's not there. It's not as far along as like the Braves staff and like the Dodgers staff that we were seeing, but they're coming, and I think that's going to be a team that will be able to out-hit the Braves and the Dodgers both.
Yeah,
so that's a team to look out for. And then going to the American League, we've talked a lot about them, the White Sox.
Mm-hmm.
That offense that the White Sox have, what they need is to find some pitching. I think that's where the Tony Larussa hire is going to play a huge factor. Is because you talked about earlier, and obviously Larussa, and all the success that he had there with the Cardinals. That all come down to pitching mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about the only thing I can think of with that hire. Obviously, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and I'm not knocking on Larussa or the White Sox one bit. It just doesn't make sense to me because of the age of Larussa. He's obviously not gonna be doing this for a lot longer. So
Right.
what it tells me is that the White Sox are big time right now in win now mode, and they feel like that they have a window here for the next couple of years. So they're going to take advantage of it. And if Larussa is the guy that they think can do that for them, well, kudos to them for going and getting him.
And maybe we'll actually get to see Michael Kopech this year.
Yeah.
He had the Tommy John surgery 2 years ago, or last year, and then this year he opted out for COVID basically, and then that was a huge part. He was a huge part. He was like one of the main pieces in the Chris Sale trade, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
yep.
We really haven't got to. He was that fireballer that 100 plus. So hopefully 2021 is the year we finally get to see him because obviously I'm a Red Sox fan and we drafted him and I want to see what he has. And of course, who doesn't like to see 100 pitchers throw 100 miles an hour? I mean, come on.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, to me, that's those are the two. And then of course, Rob Manfred wants to kind of keep some of these rules that they implemented for the shortened season for next year. And we're talking as if next year is going to be quote unquote normal, which I hope it is, or at least somewhat. Limited number of fans, in a longer than a 60-game season. So let's all keep our fingers crossed that shit calms down and gets back to kind of close to where we were by the time spring training starts, which is kind of a pipe dream. But let's see what happens. But yeah, it's there's a lot of rule changes that were implemented this year that he wants to kind of keep. I hate the guy starting at second in extra inning games. I really hate that. I understand why they did it this year. And there's there's some little rules that are gonna like the DH,
Fuck
of course.
The 3-batter rule.
Yeah,
Fuck the 3-batter rule. Get rid of that damn rule.
Yeah, that was silly. That's going to be obviously one thing to kind of keep an eye on during the off season. Like I said, watching these the NL GMs now, kind of it's. I say this like it's happened, but we all know it's going to happen. This DH rule change is going to be. I'm honestly shocked it hasn't come out right now and said that they've already planned for this for next year. But let's be honest, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But between the rule changes, the schedule, and how these GMs are going to kind of realign their lineup based on having the DH for a full year, I think those are kind of three key things to kind of keep your eye on. Obviously, hot stove and free agency and all that other stuff and the draft. So those are all things to keep an eye on. So anything else you want to tie up on the 2020 Major League season or anything that's happened to this day, up to this day, 2Ks?
No, just mostly what you just said. Like, I just hope that everything is somewhat back to normal, as close to that normal feeling as we can get, and just have a full season and have fans back in the stands. And that's what I miss with all sports going on right now, is just not being able to necessarily enjoy, seeing the fans at the ballpark or the fans at these games, and being able to, kind of feel that home field advantage.
Sure.
Yeah, atmosphere. That's what I miss the most.
And I wouldn't say I'm definitely not a Tigers hater. I would call myself a Tigers fan, but I usually go to a game a year. I usually go to a Cubs game at Wrigley, and not doing either one of those this year kind of was like, what's going on? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just so many weird things, and yes, I know we're kind of going over the fact that this is something horrible that's going on, and we're talking about kind of hashtag white girl problems if you want to think about it that way. But no, it's when you get into a routine like that, you get traditions. I mean, even in college football, when we go tailgating, there's certain people you see only for those days that you're tailgating, and those relationships that you kind of fester and kind of take over during those times. Obviously, we haven't got to do that. So just another thing that kind of goes back to the 2020 is weird. 2020 is weird.
Mm-hmm.
So, but speaking of college football, I was kind of hoping we would have some time to talk a little college football. And
are you sure you want to talk college football?
well, you know what? The only reason I'm bringing it up is because on the TV in front of me, and this is kind of a legit question. I've had folks ask me, they're like, why do you guys go live at 8 o'clock when you're going up against the NFL? Well, this week the Cowboys are playing the Eagles, so it's really not a game. So there should be more people watching our live stream. But the Cowboys are winning 2Ks. The Cowboys are winning. I have no idea. I have no idea who the fuck your quarterback is. All I know is he went to I don't even know where. He started out somewhere and then transferred to James Collins or some shit. But
yeah, I have no idea either.
All I heard about this morning was they drafted him in the 7th round because that's the type of quarterback that they want. Like, who the no. Yeah. Yeah, the coaching staff wanted him. Yeah, they wanted him so bad they drafted him in the 7th round. But I mean, hey,
probably one of those really smart things that Jerry Jones had to say, because he always has like some really smart input.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Brady was drafted in the 7th round, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
6th round.
Hey, well, I'm
6th rounder.
Just saying, maybe this is your Tom Brady.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Mauricio or DiMarcio or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
He's. I don't know. He's. In this game, has looked better than the Red Rocket did. That's for sure. But yes, let's talk college football. And kind of the biggest news of the weekend was obviously Trevor Lawrence, I almost said tested positive, and was unable to play. And it came out later that day that he is actually going to be out next week as well. Mm-hmm. And the big deal about that is they're playing at Notre Dame. And you might be saying to yourself, Ryan, you got to be loving that. Oh my God, you got to be loving that. No, I want Trevor Lawrence on the fucking field. I don't care if we lose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, because you know what? If the Irish beat Clemson, the Irish will beat Clemson, but Lawrence wasn't on the field. I don't care if we get shredded by 40 fucking points. I want Trevor Lawrence on the field, and I know it's already come down. It's not going to happen. But with that being said, now that he's not there, the Irish better take care of their fucking business. They better they better, because I can't remember who Clemson played this week, but they had to come back from 18 points. Yeah, Boston College. Yes, they had to come back from 18 points to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
To win that game. So the Irish better come to play, even though Trevor Lawrence is not there. They can't just walk over this one and just act like it's not going to happen. So that's kind of my out. That's kind of my Irish thing right there. We'll get that out of the way. But yes, I'm one of those guys that I want your fucking best. I don't care if we lose. I want your best.
I agree.
And yeah, 2Ks. Your Michigan boys. You know, there was a lot of talk after week one. Is that is this Michigan team going to be primed to be the second best team in the Big Ten? Are they going to be primed to upset Ohio State?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still leaving the door open for the Ohio State game because obviously that's many weeks away. Many different things can happen.
Oh fuck, we
And
ain't playing with Ohio State.
and I still love I still love Milton as their quarterback. I love that kid. He did not lose the game for him by any means. It was just Michigan State just kind of grabbed the game right out the gate and never let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think what was the biggest spread was 10 points during the game. So it's not like it was just Michigan just looked dull. I'm not taking away anything from Michigan State, but Michigan just looked dull. They look boring.
Yeah, absolutely. And for everything that we watched week one against Minnesota, and maybe Minnesota's just not good. I mean, obviously, they lost their week two matchup against Maryland. So, and Maryland was just fucking destroyed.
Well,
first game of the season.
Tua's younger brother looked amazing, by the way. I watched that whole game on Friday. That was
and so I don't know. I really don't know what to think about Minnesota. Maybe they're just not very good, which I can't. I don't get that why they want to be very good. But getting back to Michigan, it was just I don't know. I don't even really have words to say about it. I mean, obviously, anybody that was listening last week, I just kept on throwing dig after dig to Chris when he was on the show with us, and I cannot believe that he's not on here or hasn't said anything to me at all. He hasn't said a word, guys. I was waiting for the text to come through after the game yesterday. He never said anything.
Well, especially because he was jabbing even before the game started. Like 2 weeks before the game.
So I mean, and at this point, I after all of it, I deserve it. I really thought
I did too.
I thought Michigan was for real after watching the Minnesota game, and then to show up against one of your biggest rivals in Michigan State, your in-state rival, and to just play at that level, to play that flat. Just so fucking embarrassing.
I thought this was going to be a 35-point blowout game. So
did everybody. Yeah. I mean, anybody that says that they did not think Michigan was going to just fucking own them is an idiot. Like, they're lying out their ass. Like, every fucking Michigan State fan that I talked to or that I saw, them posting anything on Twitter, Facebook, anything. Basically, they were all throwing the towel in.
Oh, yeah.
From the minute that time expired in the Rutgers game.
Yeah, the Michigan State football season was over for 90% of the Michigan State fans. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then obviously the game ends yesterday, and all of them are saying that I told you so and all that bullshit. Like, no, you guys did not expect anything.
Yeah. Now you guys were on a siblings camp out this weekend. Up north, was there any intent to burn the cabin down after the game?
I think because obviously our whole family are Michigan fans, except for one. One of Chelsea's brothers is actually a fucking Ohio State fan, believe it or not.
How does that happen?
I have no idea.
Was he not raised right, or what? Or, at least in that family, anyway.
Dropped on his head or something. I don't know what happened there, but I think all of us Michigan realists, all of us Michigan fans are this is just kind of what we've grown accustomed to. Is this is just how it's going to be. We're not anywhere even close to a elite program. We're just a fucking mediocre 8-9 win team. And that's what, in a normal season, We'll continue to win 8 or 9 games. We'll fucking lose to Michigan State, our rival, every other year, every couple years, and then we'll lose. We'll get our fucking asses whooped by Ohio State, who is elite every year in and year out. And it's just that's just how it's going to be. Like, and it's fucking annoying and it's sad, but it's because this team just has a way of game, and they just fool you. Like they think that, like you think that they're really good, and then they come back the next week and just look like complete ass, just like last season. They just fucking had their way with Notre Dame under in the rain, and you think, oh man, maybe they're just starting to click. Maybe they got this going, and then they go in and they just get fucking spanked by Ohio State. So it's just like, I don't know. It's so frustrating.
Who's next on the schedule for you guys?
Indiana.
Ooh.
Indiana, and would not surprise me.
Indiana's been a sneaky team the first couple weeks. They got a sneaky team.
Would not shock me one bit.
No, to get back to that Maryland game, that started Friday night, the Big Ten off really, really good. That was an amazing game, and I cannot remember it's not Tua, and I keep because the whole game they kept referring to him as Tua's little brother, and I'm like, come on, dude, the way this kid's spinning, you got to refer to him, and then I'm doing the same goddamn thing. But man, the first game he did, he had 3 picks and looked awful. This last game, Friday, fuck, that was an amazing. He looked damn good. I mean, good enough to be sitting here going, how did he end up at Maryland? Of all fucking places, why would you transfer to Maryland? And with what he showed me Friday, that Maryland team is gonna, if they can put anything around him, is gonna be legit. I don't know how. I think he's a sophomore, I think, and so they've got a couple years to do something with him. But man, he looks like a right-handed Tua. Is basically, he throws the same type of ball, steps up in the pocket like he's, like he's a senior. The kid is very, very poised, and if you put him and his brother together, they look almost like twins. And you could tell the kid threw for 14,000 yards in high school. Who the fuck throws for 14,000 yards in high school? Jesus. So yeah, how Maryland got him and no one else did, I have no idea. Because wow.
It's I don't know this for sure, but it's got to go back to Mike Locksley being the coach at Maryland now, who was the offensive coordinator at Alabama before taking that job at Maryland. So I'm sure that there's a connection there.
I knew there had to be something.
There has to be a connection there with the recruiting, because I'm sure that Locksley is the one that recruited Tua, and then obviously probably recruited his brother also.
Because that's you're obviously you enter the transfer portal. Going from Alabama. Okay. Maryland has cool uniforms. Let's go to Maryland. I'm not like I said. I knew there had to be something deeper lying, because gems like that just don't happen to pop up in Maryland. You know what I mean? Yeah. Basketball, maybe. I can see a couple blue chippers going basketball, but not football. But yeah, that got the weekend started off with the Big Ten, and like I said, there was the kind of the shocker. Right behind the Trevor Lawrence news was obviously Michigan State. And the nightcapper was Ohio State, Penn State. And that game was actually closer than what I thought it was going to be. But Penn State Ohio State ended up pulling that one out. So Big Ten, and the one thing that the one sad part of the Big Ten is you and I were pretty high on this quarterback out of Wisconsin. Yeah. And dude tests positive. Actually, it seems like now the whole damn team is now positive, it seems like, over there in Wisconsin. But the Big Ten, when you test positive, it's 21 days.
Yeah,
21 days, which is kind of
which is
ridiculous.
just it's just ridiculous. Exactly, it's ridiculous, and I would not be surprised if you see that that rule being changed,
I think they were in.
just because
Yeah,
it's got to be a little bit more realistic.
I want to say that they were trying to negotiate a COVID policy similar to the SEC,
Mm.
which I believe is a 10-day instead of 21, or how many. You have to have so many, like 3 negatives before you can rejoin the team, or who the fuck knows. But yes, 21 days is absolutely fucking ridiculous. And on top of that, the Big Ten waited too long, and now they have zero buys or zero anything and zero. I mean, Wisconsin's game on Saturday didn't happen. It's not
Mm.
going to get replayed because there's no time in the schedule. So it's just a no contest. So the Big Ten waiting is actually costing them because all of these in the Big Ten had to know. I mean, look at how many games have been rescheduled in the NFL. Just look at that. And we can draw basically a conclusion, or not a conclusion, but a comparison between, because they're two very similar uh, setups as far as the NFL and the college is concerned.
Mm.
And thankfully we haven't seen a lot of it recently in the NFL, but that, like, week 3, week 2, week 3, when they were shuffling games around, playing games on Tuesday, playing games whenever the fuck they could play them.
Mm.
There was a Monday night game that started at like 4:30. I mean, whenever they can get them in, just because of, the 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 COVID procedures that they have in place. Now, yes, I do think you're going to see the 21-day thing for the Big Ten squashed, or at least redone. But how realistically, I mean, this Big Ten commissioner's out of his fucking tree, for one. And what it's going to come down to is, yes, you're going to put this, eight game season together with zero flexibility,
Exactly.
and each team might look like they might get 5 games in. Might.
Yeah.
I mean, probably there's going to be a couple teams that squeak through and play all of them. But I'm and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope all these, I hope that this Wisconsin thing is just a Wisconsin thing, and it's only a Wisconsin thing. And I'm not
Yeah.
putting all of the blame on them, but I hope it stays there, and I hope it's just the blip. I hope it doesn't go to all the other teams, because obviously that's gonna suck. And I honestly hope that every team plays 8 games, because I like Big Ten football. But
Mm.
you would think that just even watching the NFL and how they do it, or the SEC, or there was so many other plans in place because you started late. And I'm saying you, Kyle, like you're the Big Ten, but um, God damn it, Kyle. But no, you guys started late, and they've already had these uh, their procedures in place, obviously a month or so before their season started. So why? And there's a lot of people that said that Michigan and Michigan State were driving the bus on this because of and
Mm.
it's not. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, and this is not the time and the place that what we're going to go into in that. But a lot of it was kind of politically driven and stuff like that between the teams in Michigan and their respective conferences. So
Mm.
how much truth there is to that, I don't know. But it seems kind of, when Notre Dame opens up week 1 at home with 5,000 fans, and the Big Ten isn't even playing, there's something wrong
Yep.
with that.
Yep.
When
Yep.
when Notre Dame is, what, 2.5 hours from Ann Arbor, 2.5 hours from East Lansing. What's the difference?
Mm.
The difference is a conference. That's the only
Yep.
difference. That's the only, and I'm not saying that because obviously Notre Dame had to join the ACC for this season. And I'm not saying the ACC is different than the Big Ten. I'm just saying the Big Ten is different. Their thought process and their procedures that they wanted to put in place were different than everybody else's. And why they had to be stricter than everybody else, that's the key question here, ladies and gentlemen. And as a football fan, I'd like to know. And if I was a huge Big Ten fan, I'd really want to fucking know too.
Yeah.
Glad
and the way it's set up right now is, they're setting up these teams in the Big Ten just to fail. And right now we're seeing it firsthand with Wisconsin, and we're only 2 weeks into this, and we're already seeing it, and that's why I don't have a whole lot of faith in it. Either the rule's going to have to change, and they're going to have to come back down a little bit on it, or we're just not going to see. I just don't see these teams being able to make it through the entire season.
No.
Eventually,
no.
These teams are going to take their blows, and obviously more teams are going to start having positive cases, and with a 21 game where you have, or 21 day, you have to sit out for 21 days. There's no way. I mean, there's not a college team around that can handle those kind of consequences. And we're seeing it firsthand now with Wisconsin, who's, arguably a top 10 team in the nation. And because of, just stupid rules that the Big Ten that is enforcing, it's basically ruining their entire season. And that's where I feel terrible for these kids.
And, especially with the first game that kid had, he was on fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
He was probably the best Wisconsin quarterback I've seen in quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's judging from the Twitter response and everything in this, if the Big Ten does not change this, then you're right. There's, like I said, hopefully, if they don't change it, this Wisconsin thing is just a Wisconsin thing, and that's the only blip. But the realist part of me knows that's not going to be the case.
Nope.
And
to me, it being Wisconsin, to me that's I think there's a little. I hate to hate to say this, but I think it's a little bit more beneficial, being that it is a big time team like Wisconsin, who is a top 10, or was a top 10 team in the nation before all this. Other than this happening to Illinois or something like that, who really isn't gonna.
What if it was Justin Fields?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where I'm going.
Yeah.
If it was a team like Illinois, Iowa or anything like that, probably not a whole lot's going to be said about it. But because it is, a top 25 program, Wisconsin, a team that has been in the top 25 for pretty much ever since I could remember. So maybe that's where maybe the Big Ten will start to look at it as more of a whole, and just basically come up with, hey, we can't have it. We cannot have it be this strict.
Well, can you imagine college football fans or Big Ten fans, especially Ohio State fans, losing their fucking minds I'm not trying to put any bad juju on it, but again, God forbid this happens, because I don't want it to happen. But if Justin Fields tests positive and has to sit out or quarantine 21 days, and you have Trevor Lawrence, who's already tested positive, only has to quarantine for 10, you're going to see a lot of people fucking irate.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And as they should be.
Yeah, and it's not fair. It's not fair at all. And obviously, one could say that either one of them going down with COVID is going to might kill their chances for a national title. You never know. Now, if Notre Dame beats Clemson, and Clemson, after next week, Lawrence comes back. He's the Trevor Lawrence that we know. They go undefeated into the ACC championship game with Notre Dame, and they beat Notre Dame. Then, sure. I mean, they have, depending on what everything else happens and falls, within the playoffs. Then, sure, I could see that. And but with missing 3 games with the Big Ten, that's especially if I mean, obviously any starter is important, but we all know that quarterbacks are the most important. You take any starting quarterback from a team for that long, I don't care what team you are, your national title chances are done. You are done.
Yep.
Unless, but for some, some reason out of Urban Meyer's book of Cardell Jones coming in as a third string quarterback and winning a national title. I mean, those are very, very extenuating circumstances. But I'm pretty sure not every top 5 program right now has a Cardell Jones sitting on their bench. Or you never know. Cardell Jones might be sitting on someone's bench because I haven't heard from him since the XFL. So I'm not really sure where Cardell Jones is. So you never know. You never know. Well, 2Ks, we've reached our hour, and I want to thank Mr. Kyler Thornburg, Slime Wrangler himself, for jumping in on the Dodgers talk, and I'm pretty sure his baseball boner has not subsided yet. And you know what? Fly that banner, my friend, because I did it when the Red Sox won. Felt good. Felt really good. And this is going to sound kind of weird, but when they win again, it doesn't feel it's not as cool. It really isn't. But winning a World Series national title, anything when you're the best team in what you do is always awesome. But when you break a streak that's been especially the Red Sox, Cubs, the 80 since 1988, it's like 30 years, 32 years. But I guess in LA time that's like 150 years. So. Yeah, let that flag fly, my brother. Do not let anyone take it down. And anything else we want to wrap up, 2Ks?
Nope.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking with you, my friend. And I'm sorry you missed the kind of the card opening party last night. We actually ripped some. Speaking of 88, we ripped some 88 tops that Ben had, and I chewed some gum from 1988. Not a good choice. I did, however, save some for you just in case you wanted some. But,
go ahead and give it away.
Oh, well, let's give it to one lucky listener. It doesn't taste bad. It just pretty much crumbles in your mouth. There's no chewing.
Just disintegrates in you as you chew.
Yeah, and if you eat like 4 or 5 pieces of it, it becomes a really good laxative. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But yeah, Ben also brought over it's a retail box of 18 Topps Update. We were looking for a bat down. We did not find one, but we did get an Ohtani. And yeah, so a big shout out to Cameron. Had a great time with you, buddy. Thank you, Ben, for bringing over all the party supplies. And like I said, and if anyone watching the replay or live wants some Topps gum from 1988, I do have a bunch of it. I mean, I was shocked that there was that much gum even after I ate some, and didn't pull any Glavins or anything cool out like that. I did pull a nice crispy Nolan Ryan out for you though. So if you don't have an 88 Nolan Ryan that is, I mean, obviously it came right out of the pack, so it is minty. I do have that for you, and I did open a box of, and I think we just lost Kyle. Yep. So I will wrap this up, guys and gals. But yes, I did want a big shout out to the card guys. Thank you for coming over. We had a blast last night, and pretty sure we're gonna get Kyle roped into hosting the next one because he obviously hung up. So. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Please don't forget, if you made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified whenever we go live, because I've got I'm not so much going live, but I'm going to be starting posting some other videos on here. So keep an eye out for that. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.